Okay, I will talk about the Federal Reserve System. The Federal Reserve System is the central banking system of the United States of America. It was created on December 23rd, 1913, with the enactment of Federal Reserve Act. So it is a law for Federal Reserve System. So it has a 7 board of governors called the Federal Reserve Board, which are appointed by the United States President. The Fed has 12 regional Federal Reserve banks all around the country. So New York, Cleveland, Boston, and so on. The 12 presidents of FRBs and the 7 governors from the form the open market Federal Open Market Committee, which sets the monetary policy. And the FOMC meets regularly, more than 4 times a year. So Fed chair is the chair of Fed Board of Governors. The Fed chairs, you can click this link right here, and then you can see all the past Fed chairs. The most recent Fed chair is Jerome Powell, and the one before Jerome is Janet Yellen, who is now uh, you know, Secretary of the Treasury Department. Ben Bernanke was the Fed chairman during the 2008 financial crisis. We'll talk about him later on. And Federal Reserve Board they did make this monetary policy, and when the policy mandates to generate create more US dollars, Fed is the one who decide to do that. So these US dollars, this is a picture of a US 100 US dollars. Basically, they are Federal Reserve notes, as you can see from this picture. So this is $100 US bill, and it is signed by the Secretary of the Treasury and Treasurer of the United States. So Federal Reserve and Treasury Department of the United States government are involved in creating this money. So the printing of the money is done by Treasury Department, and decision to create more money is done by Fed. So they are fiat currencies. Fiat here means decree or on order. So after the Nixon shock, 1971, these US dollars are no longer backed by gold. It is backed by securities of the United States. But these United States bonds are IOUs. I here means the United States government. U here means someone who holds this security. So when the person holding this security present this to other people, they trust the United States government. They believe that U.S. will not go bankrupt in a foreseeable future, so they honor this. Okay, they accept and give the money to the bearer of the United States bonds, and these bonds also give some interest, pay some interest to the bearer. So people like to hold U.S. securities. Not only people actually like to hold the U.S. securities, but also central banks of countries in different nations. Um, they like to hold U.S. securities because the United States is uh, a trustable country. Okay, it has the largest military force in the world. It has the largest size economy in the world. So that is reason for trust. And the U.S. government basically makes use of this trust given to them and utilize this reserve currency power for their maximum economic benefit. For example, in order to create one US dollar, 100 US dollar bill, whose face value is 100 US dollars, cost only $1 to make them. So the uh, the rest of uh, the difference between the face value and the cost to make one single 100 US dollar bill is $99. These $99 are all given to the United States government so that can utilize this newly created money people honor, which people honor. Uh, that means they accept these 100 US dollar bills and gives back goods and services to the United States. So they can create money out of thin air and then use this money, give this money to people in other nations, and they work very hard to make cars, audio equipment, and television sets, ship buildings, ships and buildings, and then all kinds of services, and they provide these goods and services to the United States. Then all they have to do is create this new US dollars and pay them. Okay, so that's one uh, aspect of reserve currency status of US dollars. And the United States has been utilizing this power for their own benefits. Okay, the U.S. Congress established three key objectives for monetary policy in the Federal Reserve Act. The first one is maximizing employment. Uh, and the second one is stabilizing prices and moderating long-term interest rates. So basically, uh, the Fed uh, utilize the the tool of moderating interest rate, and they can use this tool to stimulate the economy, or they can downsize the burst. Downsize the uh, uh, or they can downsize the uh, uh, you know stimulation. Okay, so they can either stimulate the economy by injecting US dollars into the society. Then the people can use this injected money to buy cars and houses, and the construction companies build new houses and new buildings. And then in this process, more people get employed, right? And basically, that is the mechanism that you can imagine involving these items. So when the more people do more transactions, then the size of economy grow. They make new products and services. But if in the case that too much money is injected into the society, then it will create bubble. So the real price of an economic product there is, and the calling price of these goods and services can be different, right? The calling price of house and the actual value of the house, there could be a discrepancy. And if this discrepancy is too large in the positive side, then uh, there is going to be a housing bubble, and there is going to be a land bubble, and so on. Okay, in such a case, uh, the Fed started to increase the interest rate. So people put their money into the bank, and the bank to the Federal Reserve account. So money is the money went out to society, comes back to the Fed. So they can absorb this money so that they want to cool down the economy a little bit. So there is booms and burst cycle. When the interest rate is set very low, more money is put into the system in order to stimulate the economy. And then the Fed monitors the price levels of goods and services. If it get too much inflated, then it start to raise the interest rate and you know get the money back to the central bank. So this booming period, the interest rate is minimum, and burst period, the interest rate is heightened. So booms and busts, comes and goes, and as these happens, people you know people have to have keen eyes on the Federal Reserve for the policy. But in the past, all these informations were kind of kept only to only inside the United States. Many other countries were affected by these Fed policy, Fed activities of increasing and lowering the interest rate and economic booms and bust cycles. Only the elite people know about this. Common people do not aware of was not aware of this, and then they make mistakes in terms of making investments and in terms of making decisions to buy a house at a high price and pay a lot of money um, uh, because of their mistakes. And these two objectives, maximizing employment and stabilizing prices, are sometimes referred to as the dual mandate of the Federal Reserve. And the Fed duties have expanded over time and currently also include supervising and regulating banks, This you will understand why, because uh, when I cover the financial crisis of 2008, so you will understand why Fed need to supervise and regulate banks and maintaining the stability of the financial system. Okay, so uh, in there is when there is a financial panic, no one likes to lend money to others. And then they want to hold on to the cash and no interaction within the economy. In such a case, um, uh, you cannot, for example, withdraw your money in the bank, okay? Because bank ran out of money. Uh, because banks are doing so-called fractional, lending system. So they keep only a little amount of money that you deposited in their vault, and most of the money went out of the bank as in the forms of loans. So they need to make some interest, payments by lending. Okay, so uh, that is the one major source of income that bank can have. So in the case of a financial panic, many people like to hold on to their cash, so they would like to withdraw cash from the banks that they put as a deposit. So when they large amount of people make withdrawal demands, a single bank cannot respond to this request because they only keep a small amount of money. Most of them went out for loans to make profits, right? So in such a case, the Fed has to work as a lender of last resort, so they can borrow money to the commercial banks, so they can avoid of default. Okay, so in the case of a default, the this news spread out in the Wall Street, and the monetary institutions and to the customers of them, and then people demand money, and then there could be a bank run. In the case of bank run, then it will be a turmoil of chain defaults, and if chain default occur, then the uh, economy can collapse. And then, in order to avoid such a situation, they have created central bank. And so it also provides financial services to depository institutions and the United States government. So this is understandable, but these days they have included services to foreign official institutions. So one example could be, you know, uh, Korean Central Bank. Okay, and the United States government make a MOU with Korean. I mean the Fed make an MOU um, with the Korean Central Bank. Then basically they can swap their currencies in the case of a financial crisis, worldwide financial crisis, because worldwide economy is connected with each other these days. If one partner nation goes default, then it has a ripple effect that other nations and or other institutions in the United States may go default. So in order to prevent this type of a ripple effect, Fed provides this money swap operations with the partner nations. So another item we want to talk about is that Fed is a privately owned company, as well as it is a government agency. So the uh, the the amount of money supply is determined by Fed, but the United States Department of Treasury are the ones who print the currency used, US dollars. And also the United States Congress um, is also has to work in partnership with the Fed. Basically, Fed need to report their operations to the Congress, and it needs to be approved. And also the maximum amount of treasury that the US government can create in order to produce more US dollars. That decision has to be approved by the US Congress. So all these important organizations, US Treasury, US Congress, Federal Reserve Board, they work in harmony. So because these decisions are heavy decisions affecting billions of people all around the countries. So no one can make these decisions all alone. And the Federal Reserve government sets the salaries of the board's 7 governors, and it receives all the system's annual profits and dividends on member banks. Capital investments are paid, and account surplus is maintained because it is a private company. And when the Federal Reserve made a lot of money, major part of that money has to go to U.S. Treasury Department. Uh, so although an instrument of the U.S. government, the Federal Reserve System considers itself an independent central bank because its monetary policy decisions do not have to be approved by the president. Actually, this is a small decisions, right? And actually, since there is a Federal Reserve Act, the Fed chairman does not have to listen to what President of the United States demands, right? But since these are heavy decisions again, it need to be coordinated with the president as well, somehow. And this one also says that the Fed is an independent organization, independent of the executive branch of the government, as well as the legislative branch of the government, the U.S. Congress. But in effect, they all need to coordinate. I'll talk about this one in the next lecture.